It's not a good idea to make excuses when dealing with clients because typically you'll find that whatever it is that is bogging you down at the moment also most likely can apply to your clients as well. An example of this was when I had to get back to a client that I've been working with for a while now. I first met her when she worked in the NGO space, but now she's out and about doing her own thing and she's working on this really exciting project. It's going to be revamping a cookbook, which is a classic in the Nigerian space, one of those books that have been around for about 30, maybe 35 years. And she's in charge of revamping the whole thing. And so she's going to need some photographs and video services and a bunch of whole other stuff. Anyway, we were having the conversation regarding the photos, and we're at that stage of the conversation where I needed to get some more details so that I can put down a quote, and I needed to get the full extent of what the shooting schedule was going to be like, an estimate, more or less, how long we intend to shoot, what are the core ideas, and how many passes do we think we're going to have to make before we get all the material that we need. So she called at a time, usually in the evenings, as she usually does, and I was busy with the kids, and so I couldn't talk at the moment, so I just sent a text message saying I'd call back in an hour, and I forgot. So I called her back the next day. I'm like, hey babe, what's up now? Sorry, I was with the babies and blah 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 blah. And her response was, and so, what about the rest of us? Now, some of you might think that response was curt or rude, but it's not, because we're friends, and I'm glad she said what she did, because I now kind of got the point. I said I was busy with the kids as a legitimate excuse for the reason why I couldn't answer the call. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of the people that we're going to be dealing with, even if you start off primarily in the event and the wedding space, eventually you're going to start working with your clients in other areas. Like, for instance, this lady of mine who we started off in the NGO space and in the wedding space, and then now we've moved on to other things. So if you're in a situation where you're going to be able to say, sorry, I was busy with the kids, the truth of the matter is, okay, and so what about the rest of us? Don't we have that excuse as well? And is that a good reason for why we are not meeting our commitments? So you'll find that typically whatever excuse that you can give in that scenario, even though it's justified, probably applies to a whole bunch of people who are not making that excuse right now and who are finding ways around their personal circumstances to make it happen, to make it work, and to meet their obligations, and who will call back when they say they're supposed to call back. I was really happy that I went through this with her, because I had an experience with a lady in the past, and it was over a birthday shoot, and things didn't turn out too well. And in the tirade that followed, the lady, I got the impression that she was kind of offended that I would throw my children in her face. That was the way that she put it. I found it really odd, because at the time all I said was, okay, I'm not going to be available to shoot anytime after 1 because I have pickup runs and a couple of other school things. So I didn't think it was throwing my kids in her face, but that's how she took it. But the bottom line is, with that flare up in the past, and with this experience that I've had with my friend now, I've realized that I've been dishing out some advice for a very long time without taking that same advice myself. That being that sometimes when you have legitimate excuses for why you can't do something at the moment, there is no need to go into details. You can just use the more professional way of putting it by saying, I'm sorry, I'm not available to take your call right now because of so and so, because I made other commitments, and I will get back to you between so and so tomorrow. And then, of course, make a note in your calendar and do your absolute best to call them back when you say you're going to call back. So if you're trying to reschedule a shoot, there's no need to go into detail by saying, I'm not available after 1 because I have school runs or because my mom is sick. The client might have school runs too, and the client's mom might also be sick, but she's making time out to make sure that you guys hit the schedule on time. It's sufficient to just say, I'm not going to be available at 1 p.m. because I've made other prior commitments before we began this conversation. And I think that's professional enough. So, bottom line, the main thing that I'm trying to share with you guys today, and advice that I should have taken myself, is not to make excuses and to learn to do what I say that I'm going to do. So if you tell someone, I'm not available right now because of prior commitments, I'll get back to you tomorrow between the hours of 9 and 12. Make sure you do get back to them tomorrow between the hours of 9 and 12. So that's all that I have to share with you guys this morning, and I'll bring it to a close here. I'd also like to say thank you again for those of you who have hung around so far. I think we've done over or close to 170 episodes right now. I will cross-check to be sure. So I appreciate your time and attention, and I promise to keep coming back here as regularly as I can to deliver good stuff so that we can all figure out how we can use the discipline of sales and personal selling to improve our business, especially since a whole bunch of us already engage in other stuff like online marketing, brand building, and other things to grow our businesses. So thank you very much for listening to the Sales for the Nigerian Wedding Industry podcast. I'm your host, Abuja-based event and wedding photographer, Tavishima Ayede. I'll catch you guys on the next recording.